Hi, I'm Dr. Bonnie Clipper, the Chief Clinical Officer at Wambi. Today, I'm here with Ersilia Pompilio, podcast host of Nurses and Hypochondriacs, speaker, consultant, writer, and pediatric nurse practitioner. Ersilia, thank you for taking the time to be with me today.
Well, thanks for inviting me, Bonnie. I'm glad to be here.
It's a little bit opposite. Instead of you doing the podcast and being the host, you actually are on the other end today. So fun for both of us.
I know. It's kind of something new for me. Sometimes it gets to be synonymous and we switch sides. I've done that before with other guests.
And
But
well,
it's
and
awesome. Thank you. I'm excited to be a guest. It's been
and
a
here
while.
we go. So I'm going to tee you up and set you up on this one. So, Ersilia, as you know, the world continues to change very quickly. We started out 4 months ago with the pandemic that quickly shifted into an economic crisis that quickly shifted yet again into highlighting the negative impacts of disparities and inequities and racism. And as nurses and leaders, people often look to us for guidance. What thoughts and insights can you share on how we can show up as our best selves every day, and how can we make the world a better place?
Well, yeah, these are crazy, crazy times, and the world is very much in flux. I mean, we've had this huge implosion of all these problems are finally coming out to the surface. And I have been telling people, a lot of my storytellers who have been coming on my webinars and stuff, is really just to be yourself, just to be as grounded as possible, really in the moment, and not focusing too much on media, not focusing too much on what the outside world is, but focusing on what's just right in front of you, because that's what you can control, really. You can really control yourself. You can't control other people. And it's just being as present as possible and as conscious as possible of what's going on, conscious as possible with about people and patients in your area, in your field of vision for that moment. Okay. And be conscious about what you're saying and what you're talking about. It's like, are you in your headspace? Are you in your ego? Or are you in your heart space? It's like I've been noticing lately in storytelling, when people are in their ego, when people are really telling stories from the heart, sounds different, right? Are you being authentic? And I think this is a good time to look at that as a person. Like, am I being an authentic person? Am I being authentic to myself? Right? Am I where I want to be in life? Because I think that, as Jung says, when we're not looking at our shadow sides, when we're not looking at that dark space within ourselves, we're suppressing our creativity, which makes that dark side really come out in weird areas of our lives. We could be more reactive. So the best thing to do is be really conscious about that. And if you're not happy, make a shift, and maybe just watch. Like, I love to listen and watch my environment. That's where I get my best stories. And as nurses, we have to listen to our patients. We have to be good listeners. So it's just like, listen to your patients more, watch your environment, and yeah, and just be yourself as much as possible.
I love that because it's so simple and so well grounded, right? Authenticity and vulnerability are things that are very difficult for us to do because it feels as though we've put ourselves in a position that is often uncomfortable. But I think there's something to be said for that, especially right now.
It's so true. And I think it's uncomfortable because people don't know who they are. They're not comfortable with being themselves because they're always worried about what other people are going to say about them. They're worried in my stories, in my storytelling courses. That's what people say. Oh, what are people going to think of me? What are they going to like my story? Is someone going to bash me? Well, it's not about that. It's really about being yourself and creating. We're all creative beings. The minute we wake up in the morning and open our eyes, we start creating. The more mindful you are, the more beautiful and magical your life is. It's very, very true. I mean, I started shifting my life a few years ago, like back in 2010, when I started going through hypnotherapy, and I started looking at my reactivity, my behaviors, my patterns, how I was coming off in the world. And I really started to shift that. And it was awesome what happened, you know? And it's kind of like an alchemical process if you want to go there, you know, and people don't believe they can do that. You know, instead they'll get depressed, they'll suppress those urges that they have, but they can really find some type of creative outlet. I mean, I think in nursing and in healthcare, we have so many protocols, and things become so structured and regimented that it creates like a crazy loop, you know. And I think that that's one of the causes of depression. And I've seen on Facebook sites nurses complaining about that. It's like, I can't do it anymore. It's just the same thing over and over again, especially with COVID, you know. And I'm like, start writing, keep a journal, come to my classes. You know, we have a safe space in our classes. I teach in the Amherst method. We have no judgment. You can say whatever you want. I have no judgment on my podcast. I let people be free. I let them cuss if they need to cuss, as long as there's not F-bomb after F-bomb, you know, but they are free to be themselves, and they love that. You know, it's just the energy that comes off of that. They're like, really, I could do whatever. I'm like, yes. You know, you don't want to follow my writing prompts on the webinars, you can write whatever you want. Really? Wow. It's
That's super cool.
there's no
That's great.
rules, you know.
So, Ersilia, where can people find you on social media?
On Instagram, I'm under Rogue Nurse Media. That is my 501c3 nonprofit. On Twitter, I'm under Nurses and Hypochondriascs, I think, or Nurses and Hypochon, I believe. You can go to my website, which is roguenursemedia.com. My webinars are under The Well-Written Nurse on Eventbrite.
That's
and of
awesome.
course, the Nurses and Hypochondriacs podcast.
Yeah, so that's awesome.
Podcasts can be heard.
And
so,
it sounds like you got your hands in a few pots. So good for you.
Yeah, I'm all over the place, but that's good to be like that. You know, it's fun. It's a great world to take advantage of that. You know that as an innovator.
Absolutely. And it's hard not to. Thank you again.
Great.
And
Thank
I
you.
am Dr. Bonnie Clipper. And remember, at Wambi, moments move us.